for my Instagram people.
Yeah, welcome. Another live episode of Above Average Black Men. We're about ready to rock and roll. Chris is on his way. Again, yours truly, Chris Pender Sr.
Again, Devin Pender here. We're here to inspire, empower, and uplift the community.
You just get your rerun.
And like, follow, subscribe, share, comment. Yeah. That's for the people that didn't hear us on Podbean.
Yeah, so tonight, man, I think what a show. I think this is going to be one of our better shows. Mm-hmm. We're going to be talking about the impact of Coach Prime, Neon Dion, whatever you want to call him. Too legit to quit. I know that's before your time, man. Too legit to quit. It's funny because, man, I have so much that I want to say about it, but I want to set it up. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know, I don't imagine, unless you live in the Rock, you don't know. Mm-hmm. Deion Sanders was a guy who, in the NFL, debatable, the best cornerback ever in the NFL, but he was the first NFL player to brand himself. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize that. And his story is his agent had somehow got a hold of all the salaries by position, mm-hmm. and they gave it to him. He was looking at it, and he realized none of the defensive backs were making any money. Defensive backs, offensive linemen weren't getting paid. And he was like, man, I'm not playing for no couple $100,000. So he began to brand himself. He was already wearing the chains and the hair because he's from Florida, but he already had the nickname Prime, but it just wasn't used. So he began to use it more and more to put himself out there, man. And by the time by the time the draft came around, he was a big time player. He was known as Prime Time, and he said he has a little black book where he made his quotes up, so he could, when it was applicable. Like he had one, I was cracking up. He had one. He said that he would tell the punter, he said he would watch the punter warm up. He said, "Man, I hope you're a good tackler because I'm becoming your way soon."
That's right.
He said he would tell his team, like, "Yo, when they he said they would ask him, like, what does your team think about?" He says, "Look, I just tell them one thing, when I get the ball, duck so I can see who I got to juke, I got to get around." But that's to set it up. But he's under so much, man. People are coming at him, man. All kind of people.
Yeah,
African American, right? Yeah, man. And it's crazy because he's done so much for college football. Colorado University, 9.3 million people watch that. That's the highest college football rate. ESPN. And those two schools. You're not talking about UCLA, Nebraska, LSU. So it's amazing. So how do you argue with that success?
And you think it's just that game, like? Watch what happens. Going to happen in a couple weeks. They play Oregon coming up, and then when they play USC, everyone's going to be watching that.
Well, he's been filling up. Colorado, they're sold out. They're sold out for the rest of the season. So he's done such a tremendous job, man. And I think it's so many aspects that I love what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I just think it's amazing, man, to see him doing that and doing it at such a high level so soon.
Yeah.
But I'm more amazed at, and I'm sure Chris will come shed some light on this because this is right up his alley. I'm more amazed at the haters.
Look at this on the couch.
I'm more amazed at the haters.
Are you?
Wow. Yeah, I am. Because you would think, you would think people would be like, man, college, it's like basketball when Magic and Bird started playing. It kind of rebirthed it. People were, I give you the perfect example. I'm in an Xfinity store. Well, your mom and I, we talking, and this guy says, "Yo, you gonna watch the game tonight?" So I said, "Oh, you football fan?" He says, "Nah, man, I never watched college football fan." He says, "I'm 24, but I watch it now. I watch it because of him."
Like that.
Yeah,
I wasn't watching college football like that.
I'm in the supermarket, and I'm listening to an interview, and this guy out of nowhere says, "Oh man, yeah, man, what you think about that?" So we start having this same thing. Never been a college football fan. He says, "But you know what? I'm not gonna miss this now."
I'm not either. I feel like it's definitely captivated an audience of people who tend to not watch.
But how do you hate that? I mean, where's the hate coming from?
It's kind of funny because I seen a video today. It's this guy named Tariq Nasheed. He got his own podcast or whatever. This guy calls in and is talking to him about how he kind of doesn't he's like, yeah, Deion, he's making it about himself and he's promoting business and he's doing all these different things. But then the guy made the point of, the NCAA has been making money off these kids for years.
Mm-hmm. And it is not. This is people repeating what certain Caucasian people want you to believe.
This was he was actually Caucasian, the guy that called that.
Because the story behind it is, but let's go back up. The reason why he left the HBCU, because he said part of the reason was they played in bowl games like they never did before. They were making millions of dollars, and the football team wasn't getting any. None.
Funny with the money.
None. He was saying, how do we go out there and play, take all the risk, and they get nothing?
Yeah.
They get nothing. So, and so he has a valid point. And he said the same thing. He bought people weren't going to do. They sold out games, the bowl games, and he said nothing. He says, why are we playing a bowl game somewhere else in Miami, making the people $1.5 million to watch, and we get nothing?
Yeah.
So it wasn't about him. Even making sure his players get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And if you
see NIL deals.
making sure they get deals. I mean, he looked out for those guys. So when I hear people say that, it's like you don't know, you're repeating stuff. Yeah. And my argument to that is my counter argument. It's funny because when he was Showtime in the NFL making y'all money, when nobody was complaining. When he was playing for the Cowboys and people were coming out to see him play in Atlanta, nobody wasn't complaining then.
Yeah. And I think at the end of that conversation, eventually it just got to the point where he just straight up said it. It's like, if he starts coaching, then what's left for us? That's what honestly it's about.
Yeah. But Eddie George said it. There's been black coaches before.
There has been.
They just don't get the notoriety. Like I was just telling them.
He definitely doing it different though. He can't deny that.
He is, but I'm saying, because he's a different kind of black coach. He's a millionaire. What, you would threaten to fire him?
Letting his son wear the role.
But I'm saying, you would threaten to fire him?
He's definitely doing his own way.
But what's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong with that.
There's been plenty of Caucasian coaches who did it. Joe Paterno did his own way for years.
But you know what it is, though, too? That I think because he actually appeals to these kids that in a way that other coaches can.
And you know what? But
that's really what
I
it is,
get
too.
It. Because they said, when I was watching an interview, and he's blown away. All these blue chip recruits are calling him.
Yeah.
But they're not calling. See, but that's my point. If it was about him, they wouldn't call him. Look. If I was playing high school ball right now, I'm calling him too because he knows how to get to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
He knows how to get to the pros. More scouts came out to his combine. Tom Brady mentors his son.
That's what I was
college
just about to
say. Tom Brady going to show up with your camp.
That was my next point. Is that he got Tom Brady mentoring his son. He got other former pros that are part of the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Even outside of that, celebrities come into the games. Like, that's appealing to kids. He had Offset there.
That was actually one of my points.
Yeah.
What's the difference between what he's doing right now and what Pete Carroll was doing when he was at USC?
Yeah, a bunch of coaches.
Snoop Dogg was coming.
A bunch of coaches did that. So I'm saying,
he in the league now.
They're mad at him because he's doing it at a small school. He is. People traditionally don't want to go play in the winter. Like, he had me cracking up. He never played a game in the snow in his life. He's the coldest game he played in Green Bay, and he told him, I ain't coming out to kickoff. So, but I mean,
what are you going to do now?
But that's the other thing, because he says God. He says God led him there. He said God told him before the season started, when he was walking around before he took the job, that if you do it this way, we're gonna fill this place up. They're sold out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, they are
already. And I mean, it's amazing what he's done. Not just like people don't notice, when he left Jackson State, he got all those coaches raises.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm saying, so how is it about him?
I don't see that it is about him at all. Like I said, I think what he's doing is great for football. Yeah. I think it's great for the kids. He is old school. I love that too. Like, where he's making it about competing. Mm-hmm. And like, I think that's something that kind of gets overlooked. Like, people just kind of look into it.
That rub people wrong way.
Right. People look at the, I guess, just kind of it's personal. Mm-hmm. And looking at, like, like little things. His sunglasses. And they look at all of these things. But I think he actually is coaching and raising, like, great quality young men.
But that's what he said. He said his program is so much more than football. Mm-hmm. He wants to win games. He said, I'm a winner. I want to win games. But he said, he wants to build men. Like, if you listen to his sons, they're quality people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they earned it. They're not sitting up there talking about, my dad. They earned it. If you listen to, what's the guy, Travis?
Travis Hunter,
yeah. You listen to him talk. You listen to guys on that team, they are quality young men.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they not complaining. No. Because look, if I'm trying to get somewhere, Yeah, I'm gonna hang out with. I mean, come on. This is a guy that can get me where I want to get. This is a guy that's he's treating me like a pro already. Mm-hmm. He's teaching me, and he said, "I'm teaching these guys how to be professional. They won't have to get to the league and somebody teach them. I'm teaching them now.
Right.
I'm teaching them about when they get their money, what to do with their money."
But again, I think that's where he's kind of breaking the mold, and people have a problem and an issue with that because, like, these other schools, college coaches weren't doing much of that. They tell you that they're taking care of your kids, but then they just bringing you in. If you're not one of the top stars or recruits on the team at that moment, it's like you just fall to the wayside. But I think and they don't care about you being great, outstanding young men. They care about you being great.
There's a book out called The $40 Million Slave.
Yeah,
and it's funny because it went full circle, because one of the things the author talks about in the book is how that destroyed the HBCUs athletically when they opened up the door for them to go to some of these schools, because people flew to them schools, so the talent dropped. Mm-hmm. But you had guys that were playing in the NFL, Pro Bowls in the NFL, that came from HBCUs.
Yeah,
and it was a power shift. And they only got them because they wanted to compete. They didn't get them because they wanted to have black people on campus. But it was funny now because now, what Deion has made it cool to go to smaller schools. So now they going back. So now everybody's getting upset because now I got to compete. I'm just not competing against Nebraska and LSU and Georgia. Now I got to worry about Colorado.
Yeah. And do you think, even like from a recruitment standpoint, from the professional leagues, it's like I'd rather recruit somebody from, that going to UNC or Duke versus going to like Maryland Eastern Shores or Hampton or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
but if I'm
could you imagine a league full of people that just went to Hampton? They'd probably be sick.
But that's what's happening because he drew it. He had pro combines and people went to HBCUs that weren't going to HBCUs before. Before, it was you found Jerry Rice, you found one of the man down in
Michael Strait.
Yeah, but now you got guys like Sterling Sharp, who doing the interview, or Shannon Sharp. I'll go back and work with your tight ends. College coaches could do the same thing because you got former players in the NFL.
Right.
So it's not like they don't have access to invite these guys back. Mm-hmm. Because seriously, most of those guys, if they coach say come back, they will come back.
Yeah.
But if I flip the thing, especially if I'm trying to be a professional football player, this dude ain't never played a day in his life. This dude was the best of the best of the best. Mm-hmm. This dude don't have a pro combine. I got to go to pro combines. This guy got him coming to the school.
Right. Yeah. So I said, that's the point we kind of made with the celebrities and stuff like that that come up to Colorado. Like, and again, that's why kids are reaching out to him. And he's like, why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
You can have your favorite rapper there or your favorite entertainer there. Why not?
But I mean. Come on, man. He said something. I was watching his interview with Shannon Sharp, and he said something. And he said, just what you said. He said people need to understand. They're kids. Yeah. They're not grown, mature. These are kids, man. And kids care about the Nike swoosh. And they care. They care about that stuff.
Their practice uniforms. Yeah. Like, I was watching a video online. This is another part too. He got a production company, one of his sons posts videos online, like social media. But all the kids had their at names on the back of their jerseys, their Instagram names. So then, that's an opportunity for them to sell themselves and promote themselves.
And teach them, because the guy asked him. The guy says, "What do you think about?" Shannon Sharp says, "What do you think about players who branded themselves?" He said, "I just got one thing to say about it." He said, "Some of you get their skill set first." He said, "You got guys now ain't did anything and they branded themselves." He said, "But." It should be equal opportunity. John Thompson said this in basketball, and everybody got upset when he said it. When you may not remember, he was doing the milk commercials and everything, and he said, this is wrong. He said, I'm making millions of dollars, and my players are not getting paid at all. I don't win any of these games without them.
Yeah,
which is crazy. And back then, Georgetown was a factory. Patrick Ewing, they were putting guys in the league. Allen Iverson, they were just producing them. But all these guys came from poor backgrounds,
right?
And they didn't get a cent. Chris Webber talks about how when they were the Fab Five was out there, he's in the store and he see his jersey selling for $50, and he wasn't getting a cent. And they all piled in the car where you got to climb in the window to get the door.
But I think even take that further is the athletes that don't make it. Like for some of them, this is their biggest window to make the most money. But they're playing as an Alabama football player. Mm-hmm. Like that's probably the peak of their being able to make money. Like because they're simply at Alabama.
But the problem with the system is, and this is why Deion is smart enough to realize
Not
it,
that it's the peak, but
because the system itself is being torn down. Because where all the money used to go to the college now is starting to trickle to some of the players. Where Nike would have to go to a university, and the university would get billions of dollars because the players were in Nike. Now those players are starting to get money. But I think the other aspect of it is that I think people miss is, when I was watching the thing with him and Shannon Sharp, and I'm not an emotional guy, but I got emotional because I'm thinking, these are two black men who not only excelled in their sport and made it to the Hall of Fame, they're at the highest level now in media. And there was a time when we weren't supposed to be able to get at any of those things. Yeah. And had a platform, you just said it, to be myself.
Right.
To be myself. And I think, I look at how he's a father. He's doing to me for fatherhood. His sons are men.
I think
they ain't punks. They not riding their daddy coattail. Like it was funny because they asked him. They said, well, what do you call your dad during the game? He said, Coach. He said, I better not call him that. And they asked Deion. He said, I wish they would walk to me and say that.
He said it's business. Out there.
But he's teaching them. He's teaching them real life.
Yeah.
He's not teaching them, you pampered college athlete, when you get to the pro. No. So I think, but I think that's another reason why people are attacking him, because he's destroying the status quo.
That's what I was going to say. It's a number of things he's doing. Like you said, he's not only
what's up, Wayne?
Disturbing kind of the college coaching realm. He's also just breaking down that stereotype of fatherhood, like you said.
And I'm going to buy me some Colorado State gear.
Yeah, he definitely
he has to be the proudest.
Right, he has to be, because I think he does a good job to the point, like kind of switching hats. Like he can sit there and talk about how proud he is as a dad, but like in between those lines, he's a coach, and he's also teaching them different lessons.
But if you listen to him, and he told them, because the guy said, well, are they good because you pushed them to be like? He says no. He said when they first decided to play, I sat them down and told them, be the best version you can be. You, not me. He said that would be so unfair for me to expect them to be me. They turned out to be pretty good, but he was just saying. And then even when he talked about let's talk about his humility. They asked him, what was your proudest moment? Was it winning the Super Bowl? He said no. He said you're gonna laugh when I tell you this. There was a guy on his team, a backup quarterback named Bill Musgrave. And they used to call him Muskrat. He said he ran the scout team every day in practice. He said when they got to the Super Bowl, they were up big. He said they would beat people 42-0. He wouldn't get in. When they got to the Super Bowl, he went to the coach, said, yo, put him in. The coach put him in. He said his proudest moment was because this dude got a Super Bowl ring and got to throw a pass in the Super Bowl, regardless of not playing all year, but all the work he did for his career that nobody realized, he got a chance to celebrate. That's how humble he could have been Deion. So I'm saying, I think that's the part that nobody talks about, but everybody wants to talk about, it's about him. It's not about him, but people use stars to make money. Commercials do it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, so that's what kills when people say it's about him. And when you listen to his interviews, like I watched the whole Shannon Sharp interview, and it's an amazing interview. You listen because he is humble, but he's smart, and I think that's the problem. He ain't dumb.
I think part of it is he is humble, but he's very confident.
Yeah,
and people
go ahead and say it because you know what they call us when you arrogant,
right? Like he's very confident, and I think that's something that's it's like what. Because he's having a proven track record, and
everything he did
at the high school level.
He was the first defensive back. He get the $1 million contract. He was the first guy to have, MC Hammer. Those guys was coming to his game. I was singing the song too legit. Dude, he had his.
Must be the money.
Yeah, but I'm just He just. So he like Allen Iverson in basketball, he began to change the landscape of football. Nobody wants to celebrate no defensive backs. No one pay no defensive backs with a lot of money. And then on the other hand of it, dude, you guarded half the guys that made the Hall of Fame during your time. So I mean, his accomplishment speaks for itself. So why not parlay? And as far as his sons, he treats them like football players. Like it's funny because he said, when they won the coin toss. His son Shiloh started putting his helmet on. He said, nah, man, y'all. He said, I'm putting the offense out there first. And he didn't say this part his son said. His son said he left this part out. He said, look, y'all ain't stopping nobody all day long. But he was, he didn't, that's his son, but it was business. I'm trying to win this game.
Yeah. I think that's, again, like one of the things that I love the most is watching sometimes is just kind of like the family dynamic that they have out there too. Just
the hug they had before the game, man. The hug
but
after
then
the game.
He treats all the kids or players like that because there was a moment where he like was getting with the kid. I think the kid dropped the ball or something. Yeah. He went up to him, had that conversation, and they hugged it out at the end of it. So it's like it's bigger than just like him and his kids. I think he is raising just men.
Good point, Wayne.
Yeah, extraordinary men.
Yeah, he says he's black man in sports. You got to be, but I think, this is what we were talking about before you signed on. I love that he's not tiptoeing. I love the fact that he's brash and he's bold, and because you know what, he's opened the door for other coaches to be like that. Yeah. To stop like the dude they just played against. Dude should be ashamed of himself, man.
That was a hit.
Not even a hit. I'm talking about he was the one started the whole he helped Deion sell all those glasses.
He did.
Because he made a comment about the glasses. Right. My mama told me you take your hat and your glass off. I mean, come on. Why? If you felt that way, say that to him. That's not something you got to put out there.
Publicly,
yeah, you attacking him.
But he knew what he was doing too. Like he was just adding,
get more eyes on it.
Yeah, right. He knew what he was doing.
My problem with it is there's other ways to do it. Say you're going to win the game. Both. We start pulling each other down. Just like the guy you said they call, we give fodder to people to call up and attack us too. And that's what we do.
Yeah.
That man ain't doing you because he winning. That's what he's supposed. That's what they pay him for to win.
Yeah.
You pay him to win. People got mad because he went to another school. If you're working for a company and another company came to you bigger, if you're working for Joe John Soda Pop,
I think people
and Pepsi show up and said no, but somebody brought up the other day and Pepsi and Pepsi says, "Yo, I'm off you. Come on, what you do, man?"
I'm people over that now.
It's still some people bring it up because they say that's the bone they say to try to say he sold out.
People that are like bandwagon Colorado fans now at this point.
Oh, he would definitely win them over. But there's still people waiting. There's a precious few just waiting for him to fail. Like the guy, the former coach, the old guy. He probably should be retired and never be on TV. I was watching him, and I'm not going to say his name. And I don't like the way he's doing it. I don't like the way he's doing it. Well, because he made the comment, he told the players, the transfer portal is open. But he clarified it. He said, I did it.
Or you can compete.
Right. And he said, if you didn't want to compete, I don't want you on my team.
Right. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And what's wild is why does that bother people? Should it be, especially at that level? It's about competition.
No, because you just said it. Because when a person of color does it, you're arrogant.
Yeah.
When a person of non-color does it, you have a strategy.
Right, you're
looking out for these kids because they're not going to have a chance to play. But see, that's the difference. That's the difference, and that's the thing I like about him because he don't back down. Dude, look, man, he showed his foot, because I forgot he had to get 2 of his toes cut off, and part of his muscle is,
they gotta massage it out and do all that other stuff.
So, how many 2 times a day?
Yeah, that's crazy.
He said he was taking dozens of pills. He's down to a couple, but he says by the time he gets to the end of the game, he's in so much pain.
Yeah.
So how is that about him? He could be sitting home in his lazy boy with maize and so that's when I hear people. And
that's the part is he went to have to do it.
But Andy went to Colorado. That's not where you go if you got aching bones in your mouth. You go to San Diego State. You know what I mean? You go.
You don't really have to do it.
But I think that's the other thing that bothers me.
He could have been on TV, doing announcements.
Well, he was in the box.
He was doing he was doing high school coaching and stuff like that. So, and then even when you hear. People are talking about, NFL.
Yeah.
And he comes out flat out says, no, I don't want to do that because he specifically is at this level because he wants to help kind of coach and groom young men into being men. That to me speaks that this is bigger than just him. Awesome. Yeah, this is not just about him and going out there. Of course, he wants to do it at a high level and win.
He talks about how dumb he was. For instance, he says, he bought 2 cars and he got paid. One of them was a BMW stick custom made. He can't even drive a stick. He spent $50,000 for a car way back then, and he said so many people do that because they don't know.
Right.
You poor, you get paid, and you now all of a sudden you buying stuff because of the status, and nobody's teaching you. It's funny because I watched the Wade interview, and the Wade said the same thing. He says, you get so used to people taking care of you, doing all your stuff, investing for you. You don't know how to do it for yourself.
Right.
So most people end up getting ripped off.
Yeah, true. Because they're not paying attention.
So they mad at him because he took time to learn what he was doing and not just go along for the ride. He learned to brand himself. He learned to understand contracts. He made sure so people got upset about that.
Yeah, I'm sure Key having those types of conversations with these kids.
That's what he said. He said he brought in this lady to come in and talk to him, and the lady was teaching him how how these women set you up.
I did see that too.
He said, you think you playing them? He said, they studied you. They know what you like, what you don't like. He said she broke it down to them. A lot of guys
did it.
But nobody's teaching these players that. Nobody's teaching these players that.
Because again, to my point, what I made earlier is like these coaches don't care.
Yeah, it's only about winning. It's a bottom line.
Yeah.
So what do y'all say to the people, specifically that look like us that, are still preying on his downfall, still upset about him leaving Jacksonville?
What do you got to say about it first?
I mean, personally, like I said, when he was at Jackson State, they broke into his car in his office. So obviously they didn't have any self-respect or any respect for him.
Yeah.
In that manner. So when you look at it at that point or that light, I don't see anything wrong with him leaving, like, especially with your sons and you guys have higher aspirations. Why not?
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with him leaving at all. And I think for the people that, are preying on his downfall, that's probably more about their issues that they have. I think, you know what it is? It's like, it's not even, they take it extremely personal. You know what I mean? Like, it's, for some reason, Deion Sanders and his life and decisions that he makes, they care that much. Well, they feel impacted about it to be like.
I think for some of it is
want him to fail. Like
what is the who do you think you are syndrome?
Yeah.
I think that's part of it because he came from nowhere. Not he wasn't and they asked him to get in the coaching. He coached, and everybody swore they only asked him because of his name, and then he actually started to win.
Mm-hmm.
Now he won. I mean compete then win. Then he started attracting these big time players.
Yeah.
Then he's selling out HBCU games like he used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are getting contracts to get paid like the big schools are. So that became the problem. Then the other part of the problem is because he never backed down and never wavered. Mm-hmm. He stood by what he said and he did what he said. And I think that bothers people because we're in a time when people traditionally don't. But look at those guys who leave and then go to pros and then go back to college. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
Urban Meyer sucked when he went to the pros. And a couple Steve Spurrier, a lot of those guys jumped to the pros. Nobody says a word.
I mean, but that's actually a good point too.
Like, but nobody says
people. It's like if you do well at a job, like nobody's gonna do well and just stay somewhere forever.
Because people want you to stay there.
Like you want to work your way up to a bigger, better opportunity.
But and he did what he said he was going to do. He put them back on the map. He made sure the coaches got paid. He did all the stuff he said he was going to do. It wasn't like he just did it and rolled and nothing changed. He started packing the stadium. And other black coaches said it, how he started bringing attention to the other black coaches in the HBCU. Yeah. Like 9.3 million people watched that game on ESPN. When did Colorado University get to play between 9? No.
They wasn't even winning games.
But I'm talking about university. People who tuned in to watch Colorado State and Colorado University at 10 o'clock at night. Nobody.
Yeah. Stayed up till 2:30.
Nobody.
Nice.
So, but I think this is the part that people overlook. But I also think the part that I know people don't want to hear it. But I think there's still a stigma about African Americans reaching a certain status. If it's done on their terms, it has to be done on traditional terms. He got to coach somewhere 5 years and be an assistant coach and work his way up. I think that's what it is.
It's this idea of doing things in a traditional
way.
Because I don't even want to say it's about him being a black coach 100% because there are some black coaches. I think that's part of it. I don't want to say it's 100% it, but I definitely feel like it's the way he's doing it.
Yeah.
Like they don't like how because at the beginning of the year they weren't even ranked. No. They were just expecting them to lose.
And it was going to get smoked by TCU.
Yeah, he kept saying how we here, and then after he won, and then it was just like he was like, I told you so. And people don't like that.
Well, it started because the person asked him, the guy said, well, do you think you're an up and coming program? And he said, let me stop you right there. He said, we're not up and coming, we here.
I know.
Yeah, he said, we here.
He got a slogan every week.
Yeah, you missed it. I was telling Devin, he said he revealed the secrets. When he was branding himself, he had a black book. He said when everybody else had a black book with phone numbers, he had these quotes he made up. Like he said, he would tell the punter, I hope you can tackle because I'm coming your way soon. he says when they asked him after the game about his teammates, what he tells his teammates when the ball comes, he said, I tell everybody to duck so I can see the other guys coming so I can juke them. He made all this. He had old Booker. He said he had old Booker. he was thinking of these things, but it helped him brand himself.
Yeah,
smart.
And he backed it up. He said, they put him in. He says, he says, cover 2. He said the first coach told him to play cover 2. He said, cover 2. He said, man, I got him. Y'all get the rest. So he just was that guy. He says when the Giants, he said he was walking around the draft, the combine, and he stumbled into the Giants room, and the Giants gave him this big phone book, told him to study his phone book, and he had to take a test. So he said, he said people got the wrong impression of him. He said, wait, when did y'all pick? He said 10th. He said, I'll be going by then. He put the book down and walked out. But he had a good point. He says, let me ask you a question. What did you study in this book, taking the test? How does that translate to playing in the NFL?
Yeah. I mean, that too. But I think, again, people don't like the idea of him having the confidence. You're saying these things and, like, you're able to back it up.
Yeah.
That bothers people. And it doesn't matter, like, if you're doing something positively or not. Again, we said this before. I think it's just people view that as arrogant. They think that you're supposed to just, if you got these talents, are you good? It's just like, well, I worked hard and did like this humble approach. We see it with how our professional athletes talk. Like nobody goes up there and be like, yo, I'm just way better than everybody. When you can say, I do. Because honestly, it's the truth. It's the truth sometimes. Like, what's wrong with that?
But I look at it this way. And this is, I said this to somebody yesterday when we were having a similar conversation. Because he's a big Tom Brady fan, and he said, and I like Tom Brady. But you think Tom Brady's going to hang out with somebody who was a bad person? No. You think Tom Brady's going to hang, and from his characteristics, he ain't hanging out with somebody that's bragging and talking smack. This dude is mentoring this boy's son.
Yeah.
So come on, Tom Brady's personality, he's not going to do that. And every NFL player that played with him, nobody says anything bad about him. So it's kind of, I kind of find it funny.
That's actually
that people who don't know him have all these comments. And strong opinions.
I never heard anything bad.
That's really
from anybody.
No.
So you never really heard anybody say anything negative about him. But like still, it's like a little bit of contention out there where people are just like kind of hating on him. And it's like,
I think it's like Steph Curry.
People don't like winners.
I think it's like Steph Curry. A little different.
It's different
because
good. The way he talks.
But you just got finished saying you want Steph to be like that.
I really do. I'm the best shooter. But you want to know why? Another reason why I wanted to talk like that? Because that's why civilian people probably think that they can beat people and be talking crazy because these guys just...
But people got upset when, what's the dude for the Sixers? He just came back.
Danny Green. Tell people that they're trash.
People got upset when Danny Green was leaving. He was like 0 for 14 or something. And somebody in the stands was heckling. He came back and said, yo, how many rings you got?
I'm an NBA champion.
But I got to say this. Let me tell you, this is the funny. You got in this story right here. Shannon Sharp, and this is you. You would love this story. Shannon Sharp said, when he had Ken Griffey Jr., on the show, he was talking to Ken Griffey Jr., and Ken Griffey Jr. be at the game and his son will strike out, and they would look at Ken Griffey Jr. and say, your son's not you. So finally he got top. He said, name 5 people in Major League Baseball that's like me.
Yeah,
I knew you would like that answer.
That's true.
I knew you would like that answer.
I love that answer.
So wait, it's like, I'm writing it down. I'm going to tell my sons that. I'm going to tell my sons that. Name 5 people in Major League Baseball that's like me. But I think, because they conditioned, especially African Americans, because of Muhammad Ali. Because people look at how he was viewed. He backed up everything he said, but people didn't like him because of that.
But that's what I think even makes them great. It's how they talk like that.
But people hate it.
Sometimes it even drives them because it's like, you know what? They believe that they can back it up, but then they know that they have to back it up.
But the country hated him for that reason. Because he would, I'm gonna knock you out in the third round. I'm gonna take you out of here. You can't hit me. People resented Mike Tyson for the same reason. Because Mike Tyson, this fight ain't going to distance. And he was saying it in such a cavalier kind of way, so.
Mike Tyson is crazy.
But that's what you said you want.
I do like that. I'm not going to lie.
But I think because of that, you had other people who said, I'm not going to be like that. Like, okay, look at, it's for Michael Jordan has pretty much an impeccable career except for that part you just said. Mike had no problem saying he was Black Jesus. I'm the great. He had no problem telling people that. Story after you hear
And
story after story after
people
story.
fell in line and they believe.
But it's the same. But it's the same thing with Kobe. People didn't like Kobe wasn't because his skill sets, but because I'm better than you.
People fell in line and they believed it.
I'm approving it.
That's all the points. Like all those guys that we talking about like that.
Like LeBron.
But I'm just saying.
LeBron.
But I'm just saying though. But those two.
LeBron took a while to start talking like that. People, you saw how they treated him.
Those two.
But now you.
So I think if I go back to Deion, I think that's the part about it, man. That I like. First, I like the fact that that's black fatherhood at its best.
Yeah.
You know, and when they talking about, when he told Dude, Dude says, well, where you getting the quarterback from? He said, right there. He said, that's my starting quarterback. And people got upset. How many people would have wavered because of their son? Oh, we're going to wait and see.
But you know what's crazy too with that is like people talk about how they think that's nepotism. When it happens all the time, everywhere you see guys getting jobs as coaches or doing stuff, or like
it's only nepotism.
Jim Boeheim's son plays for him at Syracuse, and nobody talked about that.
It's only nepotism when it's minorities and poor
Ryan
people.
Colangelo.
When it's minorities and poor people, it's nepotism.
Mm-hmm.
It is. When it's minorities and poor people, rich people been doing it for years. And if the person's qualified, who cares?
And that's the thing too.
It's like when I was working at Comcast Cable, and Ralph Roberts, his son Brian went to Wharton, came in, and he made his son do every job. His son installed cables. His son worked in customer service. He worked in every department of the company before he took over the company. Mm-hmm. And people got upset. I wish my dad could have gave me $1 million company. And it wasn't like he just pulled them out of high school and gave it to him. He learned the business.
Yeah.
He went to the finest business school at that time in the country, and he learned the business. But people will get upset, and they will call it nepotism, making names. But look, his son on track to get to the Heisman.
That's what I'm saying. Like he on track to get the Heisman. His other son had the pick six the other day.
Yeah, watching your son just perform like that, and like you said, just being great men, and like you cultivated that. That has to be. But
it's funny because they have personalities were different than his.
I don't know.
Prime in his day was like Muhammad Ali. He had a run.
His one son was referring to himself as his number 2.
Yeah, but when you watch their demeanor, they're not that vocal as far as me. Prime, and I get it because back then they just weren't getting respect. So MC Hammer coming to the game, we doing a little MC, did a little two, So his sons, they have personalities, and they do have personalities, but they're different.
Yeah.
Like the one I was watching Shiloh, and I was watching him talk, and he was like, as a unit, he kept deferring to the, not his dad, the defensive coach, saying how good he was. We got to make the adjustments.
It's his son, he do that too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm impressed about him. How many kids don't do? How many? Come on, seriously. If your dad is Deion Sanders, man, the temptation to say, my dad, you ride the coattail.
I think one thing that we mentioned is it's just the perspective that people around him actually had. Yeah. You know what I mean? Not necessarily the haters, but the people that are really close to him. You hear them say nothing but great positive things about
like the guy who stayed. Everybody talks about the guys who transferred out. There's a couple guys who stayed.
Yeah.
And playing and competing.
Right. Yeah. Because that's really.
But nobody talks about them though. Everybody talks about the people that left.
Right.
And like I'm looking at this article, about 20 kids left. They showed like 5 kids that were doing well. Really? You got doing like 5 kids who were balling.
Might have been more than 20.
But I'm just saying. So I just, I don't know. I think it's amazing, man. But I also think just watching him, man. And I'm telling you, like I was watching him and Shannon. I watched it twice. Him and Shannon Sharp on what's that? Shakes, whatever he's called.
Shake.
And I was watching him, man. And these are 2 black men who were poor. Who earned it. They didn't, earned it. They got gold jackets, so they are the best at what they do. And one thing, and now they conquering something else.
Right.
And they both doing it their own way. I don't agree with everything Shannon Sharp says, but he is Shannon Sharp. He ain't sitting there trying to please somebody. He gonna say what's on his mind, and he doesn't attack people.
But what's actually kind of great about both of them too is that they're showing former or up and coming athletes another way to do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. After you get done, it's all said and done with your career. Like you can be Shannon Sharp and potentially start a business, either it's a podcast and be on TV.
Or maybe you don't make it to the pros. Like you can go right into media.
Or you can be a coach like Deion is doing and like actually making that cool.
He did meet it. And he said the reason why he
did that too.
Well, he said, but he stopped. He said because they wanted him to criticize people. Mm-hmm. And he said that's not who he is.
Yeah.
He said, because first of all, he said it'd be wrong for him to compare, and I know people that took it the wrong way, but I agree. He says, how am I going to sit here and compare some first-year DB to me? That's unfair. That's unfair. So he says, I'll talk about his style, his critique, but I'm not going to sit here, and how bad or whatever he did.
Shaq and Chuck do that all the time.
Yeah. And they do. But you know what? Unfortunately, that makes them who they are.
Yeah, true.
But I got news for you. If I had to choose, I'd rather be, if I'm gonna sit down, I'd rather sit down with Deion. I'd rather sit down with him and Shannon Sharp, because even Shannon Sharp's, when he talked about Ja or somebody like that, he's not attacking him. He's not, this is what you need to do, young man. You and he can come off a little strong, but with Charles gonna make fun and all this other stuff. But I just think watching both of them, that's because I'm going to show that young black boys need to see that that you can be masculine, and not be far like Stephen A. Smith screaming and hollering and spitting, and there's so many different ways to be successful without selling your soul. Like both of those guys are authentic. When y'all watch Shannon and I watch, Deion is the same dude. He's a little mellow now because he's young, older, but he's the same dude when he came in the league. High stepping and the Jerry curls and all this stuff, man.
That's another thing too. Is he just is authentic through and through?
Game changer. That's what I'm talking about. Game changer.
Through and through. Like I think that's where that probably bothers a little people too.
I know it does.
And like you can see other little college coaches, they're trying to figure out a way to start to compete with him and do a lot of the things that they do.
But his timing,
you can't replicate what
the timing. The timing is not good for America either, because this is the time America was trying to tilt it back to black people can't do, and racial justice, trying to control people. You ain't controlling that dude. That dude, this is like Obama, so to speak. When Obama became president and people started thinking the sky's the limit, people look at this dude like, I can make it now. Yeah,
like
it is for me. Just like when Obama got elected, man, I almost cried. I was like, I thought I would never see it. I thought I would never see. You got to go back to like Eddie Robinson.
Talk like this.
You got to go back to Eddie Robinson and Grambling, a black coach that had that kind of impact that people allowed him to do it, but he did it in the HBCUs. And so really, but the kind of scrutiny this dude is getting on a national stage, and he gets up there and he can, if I say something about him, I wouldn't go to the press conference because he's gonna say I keep my receipts. I love it when he says it. I keep my receipts, and he said, like you said, I need you to say you believe, and and he wouldn't say it. He was like, next question. Yeah. But on the same token, isn't that what we want? Don't we want our players and our coaches and for people who we respect to be authentic?
Yes.
And not be rude and obnoxious, but to be authentic, to be the same way you are at home as you are when you up at the podium.
Yeah, until it's something that they don't agree with.
Yeah.
And I think he tried to spin it how he acts and make it seem like he's trying to be disrespectful or like putting people down. I don't feel like he's ever doing that. Like, I don't feel like at any point he's like making a mockery of the game or like trying to one up people or like making his opponents look bad. He really does make it about his team.
But you said something that he's honest though, Chris. He ain't gonna sit here and say you're going to the NFL and you suck. That's not what he does. Mm-hmm. You need to be like he was talking about Travis, and I was cracking up. They said, well, what do you think Travis is? He said, I know he's home playing video games. He said he's being the kid because he said people forget they're kids.
Yeah,
these are not. We take college athletes and we put them on the special, but they're still kids in every aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like he even talked about the dude who threw the late hit.
Yeah,
and I think he threw everybody off, man. He was like, because I was watching the press conference. He said, this dude don't deserve that. He's a kid.
Yeah, he was getting the kid. He was getting
him and his family getting death threats.
He's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But see this. But that's the.
But you know what?
But that's what
Why ain't nobody going to talk about that? Him coming out and kind of taking that approach and standing up for this kid.
He didn't get a lot.
Nobody's going to come out and say like, "Wow, that was very like."
The thing I like the most is that he's going to be getting kids from all these other schools too. Yeah. If I'm barely playing at Alabama, but I can go to Colorado and have a chance to play.
And a couple kids did that too.
Yeah,
a couple kids
did that. It's going to keep happening. It's going to be a snowball.
Well, it's going to get. It's going to get worse. Well, this is going to be a rule change.
They probably.
Portal. It's gonna be a rule. They're gonna have to sit out a year or some kind of thing, man. It's gonna be a rule.
You can't go to Colorado.
Yeah, you can't go to the state of Colorado. You can't go to a school that begins with a C.
You guys get in conference if you want to transfer.
No, but I think, but isn't it as a pure sports fan? Isn't that what sports is about? When you see somebody comes on the scene, man, and they take a team and they transform it, as opposed to the same teams winning year and year and year and year again. You just got to figure out. It's amazing when somebody comes in, like when Chip Kelly in Oregon had that run. People were like, "Yo!" And matter of fact, Oregon, they were calling Oregon Nike University because they had the largest Nike contract, different combination of uniforms, different help. But I'm saying, so now he's doing it as a big deal. Yeah. But when Oregon was on, nobody was going to worry about it.
Right. And I think that's actually another thing too. It's just created this kind of, it's changing it up. It's always been Alabama, the SEC, really generally those schools. So for him to come in now and he's taking those kids and they consider it other places. I think that bothers them. It's happening in probably college basketball a little bit, where
a lot. It's shifted.
It's shifted a lot.
And it's no longer just Duke, Kentucky,
Kansas. So it's
but I think it's different.
Other sports.
I think it's different in basketball. I think the reason why it's happening in basketball is because a lot of those schools are getting crowded with talent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and guys who may not be a superstar in high school but believe in themselves, why am I going to go somewhere because I'm not a blue chipper and sit when I can go over here at the Spider University and show the world that I can play this game. So I think in college basketball is a little different because of that. But I think that's what's going to happen at Colorado. I think because people are going to sit back and say, I want to be a part of the best of the best. And the best of the best is no longer, LSU or Georgia and then I'm gonna tell you who else is helping this. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna tell you who else is helping this. And this is my personal opinion. The Jalen Hurts story is helping us so much. Because guys are realizing, man, that you don't have to be a superstar right away. Guys are realizing that it's about work ethic. And Deion says that all the time. It's about work ethic, about putting the work in.
Went to the SEC school.
I'm just saying, though, but it's about work ethic. It's about putting the work in, and it's about constantly working to be that the best you could possibly be. Like, I'm laughing because I'm listening to Deion, so I wish I knew who stole it from who, because he's saying all the stuff that Jalen Hurts say. All the stuff Jalen Hurts say, it's about the process, They
just cut from the same cloth,
But that's what I mean. He's raising. See, like now, people are starting to acknowledge the fact that it's been a long time since you've seen a leader like Jalen Hurts. It's been a long since a guy that young has come on and just like, everybody's saying what he says and follow. And he's raising the whole football team, man. When you hear his sons and his sons talk about the whole team. Yeah. They talk about unity, different things, man. When you hear how he talks about his players. Right. He was talking about the athletic director. He was just singing praises to the athletic director, the people that brought him here, the whole organization.
So that's actually kind of funny too. It's like he really came in and changed the culture beyond the school. Like he's making money there for the city and town as a whole.
Except every game is sold out.
Amazing. I'm sure Colorado loves it.
Oh, yeah, they do. Sure. Yeah, they do.
It's funny because at the end of the interview, Shannon Sharp says, if you need anything, I got you. He says, it's two things I need from you. One, I need to come out and work with my tight ends. He said, two, man, these houses are expensive, man. You got to hook a brother up. He said, but I think he's like I said, every game is sold out. Mm-hmm. There's a new energy there, and they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
They're doing it the right way. He's not out there promising people, contracts and luxurious careers. You come here, I'm going to give you the best opportunity. That's his pitch. And he can. Mm-hmm. And as quick as they turn it around, but I think
that's another part that bothers people is how quick this happened. Again, like I said, they weren't even ranked before the season started. And then now I don't know exactly where they are now, but they slowly but surely climbing
up. But he says things that he makes enemies. Like I know he pissed a lot of coaches off when he said this because Shannon Sharp said, well, what's your secret? If you had to reveal one secret to the other coaches, what would you tell them? He said, man, get somebody who can throw the ball. He said, y'all got these guys that run the ball 40 times a game, and once people figure out how to stop that, y'all done. He said, once you get down 14 points, you can't come back because your quarterback can't throw the ball, can't sling the rock. Because you got to get somebody that can sling the rock. He said, I ain't telling nothing else. Mm-hmm. But he said, that's what he said about his son. He said he knew he had to have somebody. He said, because you're not going to be out front of every game.
98-yard drive for the game. That was spectacular.
And the funny thing about it was, you know what he said? The funny thing about it was when they were interviewing about him, he said, we do this all the time in practice.
Yeah.
He said, not only do we do this in practice, he said, this is the expectation around him.
I think he, you know what it is? He's kind of like raised the bar a little bit for other coaches. Like, I think that part bothers them too. Like, they've been able to get away and skate by with just kind of doing things the old way, the old traditional way, getting by on their name. But then there's somebody that comes in that where his name is just bigger. It don't matter where he go. You know what I mean? Deion could literally, like he is coaching at Colorado, could have been coaching anywhere and got people to come there.
Well, he said that. He said that that's what people understand is people act like that's the only offer he had.
Because you know, like these other old schools, like they need Alabama. They need to be at Clinton. They need these schools.
And he talked about that. He said how they would come. He said how some of those schools would play at Alabama or Clemson or something like that, and they get a school like $500,000, and they make $1 million. They only play because in the schools only play for the money, you know. So so they get no exposure, no nothing, because it's not like it's a national game. Or when you do make it, like I said, he talked about it. You go to a bowl game, you play in these classics. Where they play make like $1.5 million. So the school get a little break off, but the football team gets none. He says it goes to a general scholarship fund. And he said I'm not against the general scholarship fund, but that thing should go to the whole school. He said, you talking about you want to have a good basketball team, a good football? He said, yo, that money got to go to all the programs.
It should.
Yeah, he said, you got to put that money into the whole program. He said, that's what people don't understand. He said,
he's a disruptor. They don't like it. That's really.
Well, I would call him a game changer.
And real quick to go, just because we had a comment that backed up on what you were saying about the culture. We had a comment from someone on Podbean. He said he didn't change the culture. He gave Colorado a culture. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that.
Well, definitely. Definitely. I think, and I'm going to say
they did have a culture.
We probably disagree.
It was a losing culture.
They was cool with it.
But I do agree. I think that's why a lot of times you lose, because it's not really a culture. Because when you have a strong culture in place, people come. I go back when you were playing at high school and college. When younger people came in, they knew the culture. They knew what the expectation was. But if you get on a team where there's no culture, it's no expectation. Chaos. So people all over. So you do. That's how you lose. It becomes a losing culture because everybody's all over the place. I think one he brought in was, and I'll say it, he brought in self-assuredness. He made it cool to have swag. I think the second thing about it is, he backed it up.
I think that was
he didn't come in and say we try to win 2 games or 3 games. We won 1 game last year. My goal is not to win 2 games, and he kept saying it. But I think
said they was going to win 3 games all year.
The third thing about it, I think, is one of the most important things is, and I say, we had a whole show about this. People fail in this country because not for lack of talent. They don't have an identity. They don't know who they are. He knows who he is.
Yeah,
there's no doubt, dude. I know who I know, and I know what I'm good at.
Yeah,
and he says, and I know people hate it. He says, I'm a winner. Like they had this commercial that was cracking up, and people don't like the commercial because he's talking. It's not a commercial; it's a snippet from a real thing. They had a pep rally, so this white lady had to be about like 90 years old. It's a pep rally, man, and
she was in the locker room. She said, "Turn on my music."
My theme song. Where's my theme song?
That was funny.
It was funny. It was hilarious. I'm thinking, but that's what happens when you win and you have impact on people.
You know what's another thing he's been doing too, like, because we certainly celebrate the fact that he's Black. We're not going to not acknowledge that, but he's been like making it a point to say like he's just trying to connect people.
Yes,
you know what I mean. Like he knows and understands what he's doing as a Black man, but he also knows like it's.
I agree. He's very purposeful and careful about how he presents.
Yes,
I do agree, and I think his whole team and his sons are like that. I think they all conduct themselves in a certain way, and this goes back to even the way they responded to the hit. Every last one of them, even Travis, the one who took the hit,
the guy who took the hit,
they were so gracious and so thing. They said, we forgive him. It wasn't, and that's class, man.
It is.
They could have came out and said, man, because it was a dirty hit. I don't care. And then the coach didn't help him any. The coach didn't help him any. We talking about that's a part of football. The coach at their school. But I think the way they handled it, but that comes from coaching. Right. Shannon Sharp said something. He said, either you teach it or you condone it. And I look at how they all respond.
You know what? And having both sides of it and like the aftermath, and that's an example of where one coach that's condoning it and one coach that's like teaching something.
But even the way his players handled
it,
his players told a player like, we forgive him. Even Travis like, that's a part of the game. So I think, but that's the other thing that irritates people because I know you don't want to hear it, but I'm going to say it because there's an expectation that African Americans we act a certain way all the time. Mm-hmm. It's an anticipation, that this is how we're going to respond, and we're not. People don't expect us to respond, in an intelligent way. They don't expect us to respond in a gracious. They don't. That's why people who do it become cult heroes, because it's like to them is abnormal. To us, it's normal. Mm-hmm. And you see it all the time. Like people love Michael Jordan, until they, when they started finding all this other stuff. But when he was playing, man, people ain't caring. But as soon as the game over, everybody, he retired. Oh yeah, he had a last lousy person now. Yeah, but so it's the same thing with LeBron. They try their best to find stuff that's wrong with him. Yeah, this man ain't bother nobody.
Nobody.
He either don't, but he's different.
Yeah. I think to us, he's not. It's that anytime you're different or like just kind of separating yourself from everybody else or a way that is different from a custom that people generally see.
I love it. I love it. I wasn't a huge fan because he was good. I wasn't a huge fan when he was playing, but I'm just saying, and I go back to the same comparison with Kobe. People who didn't like Kobe, dude was laser focused.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he was like, and he would say, you not gonna beat me.
I loved it and hated it at the same time.
Yeah.
You saw Deion had his mom in the locker room. Dude?
Yeah, he did have his mom in the locker room.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he had his mom in there.
She gave him
after the.
He said, "We don't take that, Grandma."
What did he say?
He had his mom in Shiloh say, "We don't take that, Grandma."
He's funny though too. All of them. Like with Deion, he's charismatic. Like all those things that you would want to have. I would say of a coach. Like I would want to play for somebody like that. Mm. And again, that's why it's like
I love the relationship.
Yeah.
I think when you hear him talk to his players, when he talks about his players, even the way he always props up his coaches. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He always props them up. He never sits there and say, and he said it because like he made a comment. He said, "What do you think about your defense?" He said, that's the reason why we didn't get, start the overtime with defense. He said because they play like horse poop. He says, but he said for most of the game they played okay. They had moments. So the guy said, "Oh, can I quote you?" He says, "No, I didn't say that." He said, "What I said," he said, "for some of the game." He said, but guess what? For some of the game, I coached like horse poop. For some of the game, but they were so quick to turn around and say what he said. So I loved it. But he didn't get nasty. And I love that about him, his ability to adjust, and to be gracious and humble. But he knows who he is. And I think whenever you are, and I say it, people may disagree, whenever you are African-American male, when you know who you are, that's why Obama pissed so many people off. Because he knew who he was. Yeah. And people have a problem with that. When they can't define you, especially when they can't evoke a certain emotion out of you, they got a problem with that because I always raise y'all. If I can control your emotions, I control you.
That is a given.
But he's breaking the mold, man. I love it. Let me tell you, man. I love the atmosphere. I'm gonna get me some gear, man. I'm like, yo, go.
I'm about to order my Colorado
glasses.
I've been there.
I ain't buying the glasses.
I'm gonna have to go back. I need the glasses.
You definitely would buy the glasses.
I was about to say, you would. You say that. You was not. I'm not buying the Cowboys. With our Cowboys and glasses watching the Colorado game.
Those state trooper glasses.
Yeah. Listening to "Must Be the Money" by Deion Sanders.
Too legit.
I can't wait for that USC game though. That's gonna. If you think that last game did views, I think a lot of eyes are going to be.
This Oregon game is about to be crazy. All year.
So I hope. Well, every game because every game is going to be like I say this all the time.
People kind of waiting on his downfall.
But if you predict it enough, it's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
If you predict anything enough, and I'll go back to Jalen Hurts. I've seen two articles that made sense, and both of them say the same thing. There's not a quarterback in the NFL who does not have a stress that he's going through right now. But there's so many people who couldn't wait till it happens. They could say, see. And Deion's going to do the same thing. The first time he lose a couple of games, they will say the same thing.
Yeah.
And then the first time he beat somebody 54-0, you want to hear it then too because it's not good sportsmanship. So he's kind of in a situation where, no matter how he can't win. Like, the guy from Colorado University. That's the most penalized game. Your team was bonehead. They committed penalties. Are they supposed to overlook it because you playing against Deion Sanders?
Yeah.
So I think he's always going to deal with that. But as long as he handles it the way he's handling it, I think he'll be fine, man. I think eventually, to Chris's point, he'll win more people over. But there's some people that just, hey, and come on, man.
I think one of the greatest things, he don't really care.
It's funny because she said, Shannon, the difference between me and you is this. He said, what's that? He said, man, you listen to them.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't listen to them.
Yeah, man. He got tunnel vision.
He don't listen to them because I think, but again, that's why he's great.
I know.
There's very few people
great.
There's very few people who can be great at multiple things at a high level.
Yeah.
I mean, and he could have been a great receiver. He was a good receiver, but if he played enough, but he was a great defensive back.
They say he was good at basketball.
He was a great punt returner. He was a game changer. I mean, he was all those things.
Baseball.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Well, him and Bo Jackson, only two guys hit a home run and score a touchdown. So I mean, and that irritates people too because nobody, especially if you suck at everything and then this guy's good at everything. So I think there's a little jealousy in him too.
Yeah.
And to your point, he don't have to do it. He's already a millionaire multiple times over.
He really don't. Well, I think we could talk about Deion Sanders all day.
Yeah.
Because I've been a fan.
Too legit.
I'm a fan.
That's before your time.
That's
shout out Deion.
Deion has his own song. You keep singing MC Hammer.
But I just think because that's the song he came. That's the song he came out with, though. That was the song, man. He used to do that little.
I love it.
When we get up and do it, I can do it
for another episode.
5 step, you do the prime time. Do that dance.
I just think, as we close, I think we need more people in those positions, to show our young men that you can do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't have to be cussing, grabbing yourself, man. You don't have to be doing crazy stuff, and you can maintain dignity, man. You don't have to sell out. And I like it because he doesn't get on there and badmouth other teams, other coaches, and say stuff about he worries about his team.
Yeah, that's it.
And I think that's what people need to see. I think especially our young men need to see that. They need to see that relationship he models with his sons. And I know I can say this as a dad, and you coach your kids because I had the pleasure of coaching you guys, and you watch them turn into quality men. It's amazing. That's an amazing feeling. That surpasses any athletic accomplishment you could ever see. When you see that and you watch them mature, man, I had a chance to watch y'all grow up. As a father, everybody don't get to experience it, especially at that level.
Yeah. And I mean, even as a coach, like just seeing because I've coached, seeing guys like go from kids to young adults now, like people in college.
It's like when I see the kids from Canton.
They just, it's crazy.
But I think that's another thing that people have an issue with because there's always been a stigma about black fathers. There's always been the stigma about black fathers and black athletes. And he's breaking all those. It shouldn't be just now because there's tremendous number of them who've done it in the past, but he's making it popular. Yeah. He's making it popular, man. And went through social media and the stuff that's going on.
He killing it on social media. He made it a family business for real, honestly. Like that's
But that's what you
I
do.
think is the greatest thing.
Versus Michael Jordan says, I pity my kids. My kids could never be me. I mean, just even the way he handles some of those conversations is totally different.
I think the coolest part is that you brought up earlier. His son, the junior, Deion Sanders Jr., he's the one that does all the social media there for all of them. Yeah. So I think like just having him there too is just like you bring all your
everybody
kids together.
doing something, right?
Like, even if they're not doing football, you still bring them along because he has a passion. He's good at something.
But there's another thing he said that was amazing to me when he said this. He said, "I don't give my kids anything."
Yeah.
He said, "I don't." He said, "I don't give them anything." He said, And I love that when he said that. When he said, you know what? He said, the only thing they can expect from me is an opportunity. But that's how you raise men and that's how you raise women.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he raises his team like that. Or like coaches the team like that. It's like, and that's why some of those people left. Because they didn't want to compete, but like you have an opportunity. And that's really all life is too.
But this is what I look at.
Get an opportunity, what are you going to do with it?
He must be doing something right because in the best situation, there's always somebody has an anonymous quote. If they know something is wrong, and you have not heard that.
Yeah.
There's always somebody saying, well, he favors his son or something, and you haven't heard it.
No.
You haven't heard it, man. But I was fired up about this show. I'm like,
I can't wait to speak about it. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Revisit. We'll see how he does at the end of this year. But
But I mean,
shout out to Deion Sanders.
I think win, lose, or draw, man. He set a standard. I think when lose or draw, he set a standard, man. And they, unless something drastically happens, they're only gonna get better, man. Because like he said, as we close, you got to remember this team just got together.
That's only the beginning.
I think they're gonna be great. Yeah. And when they start keeping continuously recruit, they're gonna be great.
You play my song.
I was about to say, you gonna play your theme music. You got that
our theme music.
I'll do play too legit, man. What's wrong with y'all,
guys? Because then you're gonna get us sued.
Like, follow, subscribe, share, comment, interact with us. This was another great episode. Above Average Black Men, A2BM, Instagram, YouTube, Podbean,
Spotify,
on the couch,
Apple Music. I like the new view today. I like to hear from the couch.
Yes, please. Check us out next week.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get off my music.